when I saw her, we had that moment, and it wasn't just a moment. It was a long moment where nothing was being said, but there were tears. Like we were sharing that moment. And she looked at me and she said, "Who led you here?" And I turned around and I looked at you and I said,
and I was picking my nose.
I said, "The one who doesn't believe." And
is that what you said?
She started laughing.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
That's what you said to her?
Yeah.
That's hilarious.
But started laughing.
You know what?
Because you have been that person for me. You have been that person with like just now I'm going off, but you have been that person for me. You've been that like key that has opened up those types of experiences for me. And she knew, her and I, when I said that and she started laughing, the laugh was coming from I am. Yeah. And that's why we both started laughing because we, yeah. And I don't know if I ever shared that with you, but you have been that key for me. And last night there was a moment and that's exactly how I feel, like deeply.
Yeah.
Like for me, that's like, it's that knowing of, and it's me stepping into that, right? Like I see you have stepped into that and I'm stepping into that. And when you step into that, that's when you become unstoppable.
Yeah.
Like you say.
It's funny because you said that you pointed to me and you're like the one that doesn't believe. Mm-hmm. And one thing I wanted to share about this experience that we had going to this Buddhist temple. This is my second time going there. You've been there a few times.
Yes.
And I've only, I haven't been there only because we've been, like you guys have been hearing, we've been back and forth to Vegas and we've been doing a bunch of stuff and we just haven't had the chance to go back. And today, as busy as we were, it just worked out and it's like, you know what, let's go. Let's do it. And it was great. It was awesome. I love it. And what I wanted to say was that I encourage everybody to go have these experiences. Mm-hmm. Because even though you say that I don't believe, this is all part of us, I feel.
Yes.
Like, I may not believe in the story of the Bible, but it is real. As crazy as that sounds. Like, you may not understand what I'm saying, like, but it is real. Like, look at how many people follow it around the world and have followed it. Mm-hmm. It is a real thing, and it is us. You can't separate it from us.
Right. So,
but you can't separate any of it from us. And that's the thing, is that a lot of times we get fixated on one thing. All of it is us. All of it. Mm-hmm. The people that live in tribes that don't know anything but that is us too. It's all part of our story. It's how we got to this place. And I may not literally believe the things word for word, but it is part of our story. And that is human nature. That is still sacred to me. And it's beautiful. And it's hard to deal with sometimes. But it's still us.
So when I had mentioned to her, the one that doesn't believe, because you are it. And we both know. We both knew that. Do you understand? I don't know if you understand that.
Yeah.
It was like a ha-ha, like he doesn't believe, but yet he's it. Like it is it.
Like Carl Jung says, when you know, you don't have to believe.
And I think that's where the challenge is for a lot of people, including me, because of still like the conditioning, right?
Yeah.
And like I'm becoming more aware of it in my speech when I talk. Like you the other day, I think we were saying grace, or I said our Father, and you had said something. Is it a father?
Yeah.
And that's when I was like, I even said, I'm like, that's my conditioning.
And that's good.
Because man, when you've been in it for so long, it takes time. It takes being aware.
Yeah.
That's what it is. It takes time to listen, to be aware, to be mindful, like all those things. And it's not something from one day to the next.
And I don't know if this will help you to understand, because I know it's hard for you to believe that it's similar or it's been, but you can see, I think, or at least I'm trying to explain how big this thing is, right? It's way bigger than Christianity. It's so much bigger than Christianity.
It is. Christianity is putting
It's a part of it.
it in a box.
It's a small part of who we are because we are way bigger than all of that. And that one time when I had those Mormon kids come to the house and we were talking about all these different things, and I ended up sharing a video with them that I shared on Facebook recently. I don't know if you saw that I shared that. And I put up a question that said it was a story about an astronaut that went out to space, and they were asked if they saw God when they were in space. And the astronaut said, yes, she is black. She is black. And look that up. It's it's a video from Alan Watts on YouTube. If you look up Alan Watts, she is black, it'll come up. It's like a 13-minute video. But it relates to space and the unknown and what is out there. And knowing that everything that makes up humans on Earth and everything that you see on Earth, the particles, everything on the periodic table, is all part of the same stuff that makes up the stars, that makes up the other planets, that makes up the sun, that is in our universe, right? Our kids came from us, and their DNA is the same as ours. Our DNA is the same of that of the universe. And when the astronaut is in space looking out the window, all you see is black. You don't see stars. It's just black space. And if you were to think that life comes from women, I came from a woman, you came from a woman, everything that is alive, I mean, humans, we start getting into like bacteria and all that shit. I don't know. We start getting scientific, but it might break down there. And at that point, I don't know. That's okay. But when you look out into space, there's a good chance that whatever is out there, our universe is made up of whatever that is. But we don't know what that is. So when they asked the astronaut, being that things come from women, space is black, he said she is black. So I'm sharing this with these Mormon kids that came over, and I'm telling you that even like Christianity is a part of it, a small part of this big thing, that if you really take all of it into existence, like from the time people were in caves all the way through, like that's all, like I don't forget these things. Like this is all part of, how could you say that I don't believe? How could you say I don't believe? That is a fucking belief. That is a hell of a belief.
You say.
Right? No, I do. I have a belief. This is my belief. So I shared with these kids, the Mormon kids, the story of the Voyager spacecraft and what that is. And if you don't know, look it up, because it's the spacecraft where they put it together in the 70s, and it has a golden record that they shot this spacecraft into space. And it's so, like, they thought about it in a way that these are geniuses, like some of the smartest people that ever lived thought about this thing and put it together, because they knew that if something ever found this thing, they wouldn't even know how to operate it. But they based it all off of an element like hydrogen. And if you're a being in space that can travel through space or whatever, kind of like how we can to a limited basis, right? We can only get so far. You have to, at the minimum, understand the properties of hydrogen. And if you know that, then you can kind of decode the rest of the information that is on this spacecraft. And if you can do that and play the record that is on that spacecraft, you will hear the sounds of Earth. You will hear birds chirping. You will hear kids in different languages saying hello from the children of Earth. There is our formulas for gravity, for math. There's music on there. There's pictures. There's a way to be able to see the pictures of what a waterfall looks like, to see what a gorilla looks like, to see all these different things of what our planet is. Because this is not going to last forever. It just won't. I know we like to think that like it's a hard thing to think about, but nothing lasts forever. This is going to get wiped out eventually. The sun will burn up. We'll wipe ourselves out. We'll get hit by an asteroid. Something's going to happen. So when I was thinking about these kids and thinking about like what they did with this spacecraft and like just putting all of this stuff together, I had a moment in the kitchen where, I mean, this is big. Not only that, but also taking into account how wrong some people see this and what that does and the essence of life and knowing that this thing's going to end and that none of this stuff really matters, like, and how people could go through life so misguided and all these things. And it all just accumulated And I had a moment where I just had my head down on the fucking counter and I started crying, listening to this song, thinking about all these things. And I can't explain the feeling that I had, but it was exactly very similar to last night.
Yes. Yes. I'm saying yes because I understand. Because last night, I think that was one of the most intense moments that we had where I felt you let me in, like really let me in. And when you let me in, I saw God.
Oh, geez.
And I told you that.
Yeah.
And the reason why I was getting emotional outside was the same reason why you were getting emotional inside and you had your head down on the counter. That was it.
And you say that, but the one thing that I know, that I remind myself all the time, you're not unique and you're not special, because there's billions and there's been billions. You are one many, you know, like
why can't we all be special?
I know, but I'm not different. I'm not. And I know it. I think that sends us down a wrong path.
Yeah, it does.
When you think you're different, that's why it kind of goes back to what I was talking to my mom about, talking to my dad about. Like, everybody's got a story. Mm-hmm. Everybody's got a story. Everybody's been through something. Mm-hmm. Some people are doing amazing, and you have no clue the shit that they went through to get to where they are today. And that's great. And some people are struggling, and you have no idea what they've gone through. But at the end of the day, nothing's going to fucking last. Like, enjoy this thing and have grace for people, because they all have a story. And I really do feel like I mean, you can find examples of it. If you were in the same situation, you'd be the same. If you had the same exact experiences, you'd be the same.
Everybody handles things like they handle them in the best way that they can.
Kind of.
When you look at when I look at my family, like my siblings, none of us are the same.
No.
We all have different stories. Though we grew up in the same house.
Yeah.
We have different traumas, different experiences, different stories. And the way you handle them depends on the lens that you're seeing through.
Yeah. In a simple way, and something that's recent, COVID, where you have people that feel one way about it or did feel one way. And I think there's it's going to get hard for people because there's so much that has come out now that it's hard to stay with the belief of
of what they told us,
of what they wanted us to do, what they told us, what we were supposed to be doing, and all this other stuff. But the thing is that I've always had my belief on the whole thing, whatever that may be. But I also feel that if I lived somewhere else and I was surrounded by people that thought differently, I know we want to think that we wouldn't think that way because it just doesn't make sense. And you don't know. You just don't. And I have a great example. Like, I grew up in New York, so I have so many friends and family, and I live in Arizona now. And it's two different ways of living. The politics are different. It's all different. And I think to myself, if I never left, would I think that way? Probably, maybe. Does that make me a bad person? It makes me human. But I just recognize it, and I'm not going to judge them for the way they think.
Right.